All right, hello everyone, and welcome to our first Framer Orlando meetup. I'm super excited to be here with you all today. So, what are we doing today? So we're going to be starting with a little intro to Framer and what it is. Also going to tell you a little bit more about myself. And then we're going to get together to dive into a fun session where we build a mock portfolio from start to finish using Framer. And then to wrap it all up, we're going to be giving away some cool swag that Framer sent out. And we'll have some good food while we chat and socialize. And before we get started, I just want to say thank you to everybody for showing up today. I think it's going to be a really cool learning experience for everybody. All right, so let me move this here out of the way. Okay, cool. All right, so a little bit about me. So my name is Tariq Sokkarie. I've been a UI UX designer at BMG 360 for almost 2 years now. It's a performance marketing agency. So basically, I help different brands and companies design high conversion landing pages for different brands and companies. And you might actually be familiar with some of the ones that I've had the pleasure of working on here. But I actually, sorry, here's some feedback from my computer. Okay, cool. So I actually transitioned to design after my college studies. Like everybody else, I had no idea what I was doing in college. I actually graduated with a bachelor's in health sciences, but the whole time I kind of knew I wanted nothing to do with that. So I transitioned to design with a boot camp, and my background in professional photography and a little bit of graphic design and some content creation definitely like helped along the way. And I'm just passionate about tech, no code, and mentorship. I just really enjoy talking and sharing about things that I am really passionate about. And at the top there, those are my two favorite coworkers. My wife didn't make the cut, unfortunately, but she was a close third. That's Nori and Miso. And then just some of my photography work there. And like I said, some of the brands that I've worked at the agency. All right, so I kind of want to just take you through the journey and the decisions that have led me to basically using and just loving Framer as a tool. So like 2-3 years ago, I started on Adobe Portfolio, and I mostly used it for just like my like freelance like photography work, just to show off my like my photos and everything like that. But if you ever used Adobe Portfolio, it's like super limiting. Not a lot of customization, like in layout and all that stuff. So I needed something else. And that's when I switched to Wix. So probably something all of us are familiar with. And it's funny, I've seen somebody say that like designing on Wix is like using Microsoft Word to design. So it's like, it's a little, if you know, you know, if you know, you know, but it was an easy drag and drop. It got the job done. And it's actually, this portfolio was actually what got me my first like full-time position as a designer. So it got the job done. But as I started like developing like my design sense, and I really wanted to do more and like break out of the molds, because there's only so much you can do with those in terms of design, but every tool has a strength, 100%, and different advantages and disadvantages. So that's when I actually decided to check out Webflow. Like, oh my God, like we're here to talk about Framer. Why are we talking about Webflow? I'm not a Framer bro by any chance. Like I acknowledge that there's like a tool for every job. And Webflow, the first time I checked it out, I was really overwhelmed. At that time, it was just something that I didn't want to take the time to learn. Had a lot going on back then. But now I acknowledge like all the awesome like strengths of Webflow. It's an amazing tool. And yeah, so from there came Framer. So I had just like heard like a couple things here and there about it. It was kind of like that one person you meet that is like really cool, but just a little weird. So like you need like, I needed like a vouch like about it. Like I was like, why is this, you know, it seems too good to be true kind of thing. And then that's when I actually just started going out and started asking questions. The Framer community is like super awesome, very helpful. I actually reached out to somebody that was part of it, just to ask some big questions. His name was Mateo. And they were just basic questions, but just like big things that were keeping me from just like giving it the first go. And that's what really pushed me to really try it out. And like the next day, like I already had like pretty much learned how to use like the entire program. And I already had like built like one page, like, and it was so fun. And that's when I learned that the F stands for fun. But basically what I want to be, this is, so that part right there, the push is what I want to be for the local community. If this is a tool that that you see being useful to you or you enjoy using, I kind of just want to be that push, that motivation or inspiration to use it, because I love using it. It's a lot of fun, and I want to share it with the local community. Cool. All right, so enough stories. So what is Framer? So Framer is an interactive design tool for websites and prototyping. It supports every part of the design process, from visual mockups to interactive prototypes. And its unique strength is publishing directly from the canvas, which you can see here. And you can build sites of any size, solo or with a team. And some of the advantages, so some of you might be familiar with Xander Whitehurst. It's super fast. So you can ship designs immediately without having to rebuild and code. It's empowering. I definitely felt empowered when I first started using Framer. It was like getting like Thanos getting like the final Infinity Stone. Like anyone and everyone can design and ship awesome websites. And it's also just really delightful. So just the kind of effects that you can implement within Framer, it's super easy to do. And a delightful user experience is one that sets you apart from other companies or portfolios or whatever it is. And it's just fun to use. And it's also limitless. So even though it is a no-code tool, there are the options of using custom code overrides and code components. And you can also add like custom JavaScript to any page as well, if need be, which is pretty cool. And just to show you some of the things that have been made with Framer, so you might be familiar with Artboard Studio already. I actually use them for like wireframe mockups in Figma. And this was actually made in Framer. So lots of cool media, some cool animations. I love the illustrations on this website. It's pretty cool. And then we have this one right here, which is a little different. So what's really cool is Framer actually hosts like competitions, like either weekly or bi-weekly or like monthly. And this one was actually the one that won the Halloween competition recently, which is really cool. So I'm going to test the audio real quick. Cool. So it just kind of just shows you like the kind of like fun stuff that you can make with Framer. So right off the bat, you can see like some cool, just like animation effects, and you definitely get the spooky vibe. And even when you like scroll up, there's like a rewind tape effect, which is super cool, super spooky. You got some scroll animations and even some like 3D objects that you can interact with. So yeah, they kind of just like tell this like spooky story of like the Framer team. So that's pretty cool. And then we have this personal portfolio by Jan. This is one of my personal favorites. So Jan actually won the Framer 2022 awards with this portfolio. And right off the bat, you can see like why, like that awesome like loading animation is just so cool. And as we all know, I mean, content is king at the end of the day. And just the actual content in this portfolio is pretty awesome. And everything just feels natural and just what it needs to be. So that's pretty cool. And then just to build some rapport, this is actually my portfolio that I've built in Framer. So it's actually like my like second iteration of my portfolio, like building on Framer. But yeah, I've just got some cool gradients, some cool hover effects. And this is my favorite part here. Just feels so nice, you know, just like the hovering. Like, it's so cool. But yeah, I had a blast like making this. And yeah, just kind of give you an idea of the kinds of things that we can make with Framer. Cool. All right, so it is now time to build. So if you are planning on following along, whip out that laptop. And if you could please go to this website right here. I would put a QR code, but the whole point of it is it's be on your laptop. So just go to orlando.framer.website and it should look like this. Just give you all a second. All right, and basically all we need to pay attention to right now is the first button. So just click on the Figma Mockfolio button, and what that should do, it should open a Figma file that looks like this. 1 second, please. Should look like this. So if you don't have hopefully we already have our Figma account set up, but this is what you should see. We got all the little cursors in here. I love it. And basically what I want you to do is, first of all, go up here and you should see with this drop down, duplicate two drafts. So if you could do that, because we're gonna need our own copies to be able to use a certain something that I'm gonna be showing you. So this drop down right here, duplicate to drafts. And we should be ready to get started. All right, so before we begin, I'm just gonna say that I'm gonna try my best to maintain a pace that everybody can follow along with, no matter like what you know about either Figma or Framer. But with that said, there's like a couple of things that I need to make sure that I get to in time. So if you like fall behind in any way, just don't worry about it, don't stress out. Just like move on and try to keep up if you can. But I'll be trying to pause as much as it's necessary. So Ernesto, actually, you might be familiar with Ernesto. He actually gave us permission to use his likeness for this mock portfolio. I thought it'd make it like a little bit more personal. But yeah, just to go over the design. So it's more of like a brutalist style here. We just have a basic like header, a menu. We have like a hero section, talks a little bit about who the person is. And then we have just a small work section here and a footer down here. All right, cool. And if you have any questions as we're going through this, I'd love to hear them at the end. Write it down so you don't forget it. And I'll try my best to help you out with that. All right, so now we're going to open Framer. I'm going to be using the desktop app, but you totally don't have to. If you have an account, you should be able to just go to framer.com. And then once signed in or logged in, there should be a launch button right here that will take you to this screen right here, which is basically like your project's dashboard. Cool. All right, so in Framer, there are a couple of ways to start your site when you're not starting it from scratch. So the first option is actually templates. So the Framer's template library is actually really extensive. There's like literally something for everything. You got agency templates, landing pages, splash pages, and of course like portfolio pages. And there's a lot of great free options here as well. And what's great about templates is that they're already fully responsive. You just might have to make a few changes here and there, change some colors, change some text. So that's really useful. And then the second option is basically HTML copying plugins. So the first one, super cool. It's called HTML2 Framer. It's actually a Chrome plugin where you can basically select any HTML element on an existing website and then just paste it into Framer, which is like super cool. And then by far my favorite method is actually using the Figma to HTML with Framer plugin. So if we go up here, back to Figma in the resources tab and click on plugins, and we just search up Framer, we'll see one of it should be the top option. That'll be Figma to Framer, Figma to HTML with Framer. And basically what that allows us to do is to copy elements within your Figma designs and paste them straight into Framer, which is super cool. And that's what we're going to be using today. And then last but not least, actually there's like two more. There's also start with AI in Framer, the trigger word. But this came out like a couple months ago and it's super cool. So basically how you start with AI, you open a new project and without touching anything, there's going to be a Framer AI button up here. And you can literally put in a prompt, whatever prompt you want, as specific as you want, and it will generate the site live for you, like word by word, completely unique. And you can quickly change out the style and text super like quickly. Like it's pretty cool. But we're not going to be doing that today. And then there's a fifth option that's like considered like other, but you can also use like community made component libraries. So who I mentioned earlier, Matteo, he actually made this ultimate component library with, for Framer, and you literally just have to make an account and like you can copy all these different kinds of sections and just paste them into Framer, which is pretty cool too. All right, cool. So now we're going to do a little overview of the tools within the Canvas and Framer. So this is like our tinker time. That sounds weird. That's how I like to learn different tools. Like I just like tinkering with them. Just kind of like pushing all the buttons, making things, breaking things. So that's what we're gonna do right now. Is there a way to make this roll? Okay, we're just gonna put it up here. All right. So we're gonna start with this sidebar on the left here. So we have the pages, layers, and assets tabs. So within the pages tab, we have the pages of our site. So this is where you can add several pages, adjust the URLs, and etc. And then we have our CMS tab. So if you don't know what a CMS is, it's a content management system. So the most common place that people will think of, the most common thing people will think of when thinking of CMS is basically like you're making a blog and there's a lot of content, a lot of text, a lot of pictures, and you just want to be able to like swap things out easily and manage them. So it's a system for managing content. And that's like an internal feature within Framer, which is pretty cool. And then here we have canvases. And that's basically just like, just like pretty much what it is, a canvas. You can put whatever you want in there and it's not going to influence like your actual site design. And then in the layers tab, we have the layers of all the separate breakpoints that we'll be working on. And then in the assets tab, we have the component styles and code sections. So components in Framer actually work very similarly to how they do in Figma, if you're familiar with that. And we'll be seeing how useful that is going to be. And then in styles, this is where we can actually add text styles, link styles, code styles, and color styles, again, as we can in Figma, which is really useful for just maintaining consistency across your different designs and also making it more accessible. And then down here, we have the code option where we can add custom overrides and code components. Cool. So up here, we have the insert tab. And like I said, this is where you can do the Framer AI and HTML paste. But also there's pre-made pages, sections, navigation, and menu that are fully responsive already, which is pretty cool. And then down here, we even have all kinds of media plugins. So we got Spotify, multimedia like video, YouTube. We even have no-code forms, icons, and all kinds of good stuff here. And then right next to that, we have the layout button. So that is where we can add frames to our design or images. But more importantly, this is where you can add and manipulate stacks. So I'm going to use this opportunity to explain kind of what stacks are, because it's going to be a really important part of our design. So stacks are basically the equivalent of auto layout in Figma. And the way I prefer using auto layout for everything. Some people don't like using auto layout. But the benefits of auto layout and stacks is that you can manipulate and move around sections within your design super quickly. And it maintains the proper padding and gaps between like all your elements in your page. And also makes it like super easy or much easier to make your website responsive, which is really important. So if we look at this stack right here that I just added, you don't have to do this. That's more for demonstration, but with the stack selected here, so it's going to be automatically named rows or columns based on its orientation. And if we look on this right toolbar here, this is basically how we're going to be able to manipulate everything that we have selected in the layers. So anything with a stack is going to have this layout panel right here. And if we look at it here, so we can change it from a stack to a grid. A grid, you can specify the exact amount of columns and rows that you want, but we're going to be sticking with stacks today. And like I said, you can change the orientation from horizontal to vertical. And you can also change the distribution. There's also a space between. And then the alignment, wrap, and then you can see how gap and padding manipulates the objects within it. Cool. And then next to layout, we have the text tool, CMS, and then action. So this is like your Command K basically, where you can basically search whatever you want within your site. And then up here to the right, you have your localization tool and like your collaboration tool where you can invite other designers or viewers. And then up here, we also have the site settings where you can adjust the site title, site description, all that good stuff. You can add your favicon, social image, and we have some other things down here. We have the domains, analytics, redirects, all that good stuff. All right, cool. So let's get started with the actual build now. So I did make a little checklist for us to just kind of keep us on track here. So we're going to start with importing the styles from our Figma design, because like I said, styles are going to help us maintain consistency in our design. For those of you that are requesting access, make sure to just duplicate this file here by clicking on this dropdown, and then it should say duplicate to drafts, and that should work for you. All right. So we're going to go over here to the right of the main wireframe, and we're going to select these two styles. So you should be in your own file by now that you duplicated into your drafts, so that we're able to manipulate what we need to manipulate for this. So we're going to select the color. Okay, there's a bug on my laptop. Hey, buddy. You know what? He's not harming anybody. So we're going to select the color and type styles frames right here. And we're going to go back to the resources tab in Figma up here, and we're going to find the Framer plugin once again. And we're going to run it. And if you're not using the desktop version of Figma, you're going to have a little window that pops up instead. Just press copy to clipboard and you should be good to go. But if you're using the desktop version, it should just copy automatically, but it shouldn't make that much of a difference. And yeah, it's not going to work if you're on this file. I see some of you trying. So if you need any help duplicating it to your drafts, maybe ask somebody next to you, but all you have to do is go up to the top here and duplicate to your drafts. And you do have to have your own Figma account. All right, so we're going to go back to Framer here, and we're going to right-click to the left of the main breakpoint and press paste. And the reason we're doing this is it makes it a lot easier to import our styles without having to manually add each color and text style. So with this first square selected, this first rectangle, we're going to go to the right sidebar over here. And we're going to click on the fill fields in the style section. And then we're going to come down here and click on create. And we're just going to name that black and click on create. And just like that, we have our first color style within Framer, as we can see in the assets tab. And then we're going to do the same things for the other ones here. So we're going to click on the second rectangle, go to the fill down here, and then we're going to click on this little plus sign right here. And this is a little mundane at the start, but it's important, again, just to for consistency. And then we're going to do the same thing for this last color here. And don't be mad at me, but I'm going to be calling this beige. Apparently that's not beige, but we're just going to go with it. All right, cool. So now we should have all three color styles within Framer. And then I'm just going to do one of the type styles for the sake of time today. But what we're going to do is we're going to click on heading 1 layer over here. And then we're going to click on the styles field to the right over here to attach a style to it within Framer. So we're going to click on that field, and then we're going to click on new style. And then we're going to add a heading 1 style here. And as we can see, it's already inherited all of the correct values for all the different kinds of fields. So we're going to be using instrument sans and DM sans for this design. The weight is correct. We're going to assign the color style that we just made so that it's consistent across the board. And then we're going to leave the transform decoration and align values to off or neutral, because that's not really something we want to manipulate. And then we might or might not get into the type breakpoints. It's really cool. You can actually assign breakpoint sizes to your text styles. So you can make all your breakpoints responsive with the right text sizing without even like touching the other breakpoints, which is really cool. All right, so with that one made, ideally we'd be doing that for all of these, but for time's sake, we're just going to do one of those for now. All right, awesome. So we're going to start off by first adding the proper fill to the master desktop frame here. So we're going to click on the desktop frame, and we're going to go to fill and assign the light color to it, the beige color. Cool. And then now we're going to go back to Figma. And in your own file, you should come here and basically double click into the frame to get to the name header layer right here. And just to do a quick overview of how I built this in Figma. So basically we have like a master container within the desktop container. And this container here has all the gap, the proper gap and padding that we're going to be having with the rest of the sections here. So select the name header layer, and then you can right click this time and run last plugin. You could use the shortcut for that, or you can just use like the recent plugins here. But you just want to run the plugin that we ran earlier for this. Cool. Going to say it's copied. And we're going to go back to Framer. We're going to select the parent frame and the parent desktop frame. And we're going to do Command V, Control V for right click paste into it. And just like that, we already have this in here. All right. So first, we're going to make sure that, so as you are importing different elements into Figma, into Framer from Figma, you just got to make sure that like everything has the correct sizing constraints applied to it. So first, we're going to make sure that this text style here is set to fill. And basically, like almost every element in these designs is going to be fill on width and fit on height. And that's what's going to allow us to keep it nice and organized and responsive. And another cool thing about Framer is that you can have an adaptive, like dynamic text size. So with the text layer selected here, we're going to go to the right toolbar and change the size value to fit. And what that's going to do is as the screen size changes, the text is going to adapt to the screen size. So if we click on this preview button right here, so this preview button here does the same thing as this one over here. We can see now that it enlarges and shrinks as we change our screen width. Cool. So next, I want to first change the main desktop frame into a stack. And what that does is, as we keep adding things to the wireframe, it's gonna like expand respectively. So we don't have to like keep dragging it down and all that stuff. So the way you do that is you go to the right toolbar here with the desktop layer selected, and we're gonna change the height to fit content. And as we can see here, it's gonna collapse to exactly what we have inside of it. So if I go here and just duplicate this, it expands appropriately. Nice. So I'm actually going to put it back. I'm gonna go back to the desktop frame, and I'm gonna actually put it back to fixed height and drag it out just so that I can have like a more realistic view of like the entire desktop frame. But as you can see, it is still a stack, so we're good. All right, so now we're gonna make sure that this name header stack is also on fill. Cool. And then we're just going to adjust the text height and make it take up a little less vertical space here. Because this is just a display text. We're not really worried about the line height for this here. All right, cool. And that's already our name header done. So we're gonna go back to Figma. And then we're gonna double click into the top bar menu here. And then we're also gonna select the hero as well. And we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna run the plugin. Copy 13 layers. And then we're gonna go back to Framer and paste. All right, it's already looking good. So we do need to add the kind of master container that I mentioned earlier. So what we're actually gonna do is we're gonna select the 3 main layers here, the name header, the type styles, and the color. Actually, sorry. It's just gonna be the top bar menu and the hero layers here, as well as the name header. So these 3 layers right here. And then we're gonna right click that and add a stack to those. Cool. And I'm actually gonna rename this to container. And then we're gonna make sure that this is set on fill. And the height on fit content. And that's gonna take up as much width as you want, and it's gonna stay the appropriate height. And then now we're just gonna make sure everything within it is on fill. So we're gonna select the separate layers here and set them to fill. And then we're gonna add the appropriate gap and padding to the container layer. So we're gonna make this 16, and then the padding 16. Cool. All right. So now we're going to make sure everything in the top bar menu is working as it's supposed to be. So we're actually going to select the top bar menu layer, and we're going to turn it into a component by right-clicking on it and pressing Create Component. And it's going to ask you to name the component, and we're just going to keep it as it is. And the reason we create components in Framer and Figma is so anything that either you're using or going to be using in multiple different places, you want to create components of so that you can manipulate all its instances across like your entire design. So that's why we create a component of that. And then up here, you can see like kind of a trail of which page you made it on. So we can go back home by clicking up there, and we can double click on the actual component itself to go into the actual component. All right. So as we can see in here, we have 3 menu buttons with a spacer in between. And typically with primary navigation menus, you want to implement some sort of hover effect on the menu options for desktop so that it's a better experience for the user. And the way we're going to do that is we're actually going to turn these menu buttons into components as well. So with the menu button layer selected, we're going to right click on that and create component. And then again, we have a further cookie line. And what we're going to do is with the main variant, the primary variant selected, we're going to go down here. Oh, shoot, the food is here. Thank you. So with the primary variant selected here, we're going to go down here and add a hover state. And that automatically ties those two variants together. And what we're going to do is just change the fill of the hover variant to just be something a little lighter. So I'm just going to drag it up there. And then we're just going to go back here. And then I'm going to duplicate the menu button. So with the menu button selected in the top bar menu component, I'm going to press Command D, or you can just right click and duplicate. So the cool things about components in Framer is that you can assign what's called variables to them. So variables and variants can be a little confusing between Framer and Figma. But basically what variables allow us to do is it allows us to manipulate certain elements within our components when we're not in the component. So for example, here we are able to change the label of this button in the edit sidebar here. So I can just go here and change the label to work. And I can delete the non-component version of that. And the way that works is you can select the actual value that you want changed within the component. And anything on here on the right side that has a plus sign next to it is basically what you can turn into a variable. And we see that right here. It automatically made a title one. Cool. So now we're going to go back here. And we see that there's a dark variant of the button. So we're going to go back into this component here by double clicking into it. And with the primary variant selected, we're going to go to the right actually and add a second variant. And basically all we got to do is with that second variant selected, we're just going to go here to the right and we're going to change the fill to the black color style. And we're going to change the text within that to the opposite beige color. And then we're going to do literally the exact same thing we did with the first variant. We're just going to create a hover state for it. And then we're going to select this one and once again, just change it to a lighter shade. That's some good music out there. So if we go back to the home page here, we can test it out and kind of see how it's looking. So it's already looking good. We got the hover states going. Oh, actually forgot. Have to actually add the component version. So we're going to go back here. We're going to select the menu button, whichever one, and we're going to duplicate it again. And I'm actually going to press the right arrow key to move it over to the right side. And then now in the bottom right, we're going to see that we have different variants that we can change them to. So I'm going to change it to the second variant here. And I'm going to change the label to contact. Awesome. So we're going to go back home and test it out. Sick. Is that from me or from me? Okay, no worries. That's fine. All right, so we're actually going to add the functionality to the menu at the end so we can kind of see like how everything works together. And basically what we wanted to be doing in the end is we're going to have scroll sections. So this section here is going to be the about section. So when you click on about, it'll take you over there. And as we can see, we want this also, we're going to make this sticky. So it stays at the top of our device as we scroll. And then this section here is going to be the work section. And then the footer is going to be the connect section. Cool. All right, so now we're just going to make a few adjustments to the hero section to make sure everything is as it is supposed to be. So with the hero section selected, we're going to make sure it's on fill and fit. We're going to look at the text stack here, and I'm going to put the height to fill as well, and the width to fill, because we want it to take up all the space here that the image is taking. And this image has a locked ratio, which is what we want. So as it like grows and shrinks, the ratio doesn't get messed up. And we're going to keep the height on fixed there. And then we're going to make sure the text within the actual text stack is on fill as well. And just like that, it takes up the correct amount of space horizontally. And then we're actually going to change the text stack here from fill to relative, because sometimes when you have different kind of padding within a stack, it might actually take up more than half of the width, which is what we wanted to do here. So with the text layer selected, we're going to change it to relative. And as we can see, it's on 53. So we're going to lower it to 50. And that's looking better. Awesome. How are we doing so far? We keeping up? We keeping up? Cool. By the way, this is all going to be recorded, so feel free to go back and watch the recording. And I'll also be sharing a remix link of the design as well. And what a remix link basically is basically like you can duplicate any kind of frame or website by literally just clicking on it, and you can kind of look through how everything is made. All right, so next we're going to import the case study cards into Framer. So double clicking into the layers here, we're going to find the case study layer here. And we're just going to copy one of these because we're also going to turn these into components. So we're going to go to plugins and the same plugin here. It's going to copy it over, and we're going to go back to Framer. And with the container layer selected, we're going to paste it to make sure that it's in the right spot. Give it a second. And there we have it. So now that we are extending below the necessary height, we're actually going to go back up here to the desktop stack. And then we're going to change the height to fit content. And now it's just going to appropriately adjust as we go along. Cool. So it's looking a little funky here. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the width to fit content for now. And the text stack here, we're going to change that to fill. This one right here. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make this into a component since we're going to be reusing it in multiple different places. So we're going to right click that and create component. Awesome. So with this primary variant selected, we're going to change this to fixed actually. And the reason we're doing that is because we want the image to be on fill. And if we didn't set the parent frame to fixed, then there would be what's called the layout collapse or layer collapse. Like if everything is on fill, everything's just going to be like infinite. So that's not going to work. So with the primary variant on fixed and the image on fill, we're going to check all the rest of the elements within here. So we're going to make sure the text is on fill and all these different. So I'm going to actually select all these holding Command or Control. And I'm going to change it to fill just to make sure everything is responsive. I'm going to select the specific layer style, text layer here and set that to fill. And then I'm actually going to hold shift and click on the actual canvas here to select these 3 text styles. And we're going to put those on fill as well. These ones here don't need to be on fill, so we're good. All right, so we're going to do kind of the same thing we did with the top bar menu component, and we're going to assign the appropriate variables to the different fields in here so that we can manipulate them where we need to be, where we need to. So with this title text layer here, we're gonna select the specific text layer, and we're gonna go down here, and we're going to go to the content field, and we're gonna click on this right here, create variable, plain text. And title is an accurate label, so we're just gonna keep that how it is. And there was already one created for the image, which is cool. So we're all set there already. We're gonna click out of it. And then now we're gonna go to this specific text layer here beside the role, and we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna click on content, create variable, plain text, and we're gonna name this role. And we're good there. And then the same thing for the outcomes, but for this one, we're gonna do the same thing, create variable, but we're gonna turn it into a text area so that we can actually have a bigger space to manipulate our text, since there's gonna be more text in this field. So I'm gonna rename this one to outcomes. And then finally, we're going to add a plain text one here and call it link text. And then now we have to add the link styling to this. So all we really have to do is, with the link text field selected, we're gonna go to the top here. We're gonna make sure we're at the top. And we're gonna click this little plus sign right beside link. And here is where you can put whatever website it is. I don't even know if that's your real website. And you can choose if it opens in a new tab or not, which we want it to be. And then it automatically applies a link style to it, which we're actually gonna adjust here. So by clicking on this style here, and then clicking on edit here, we can open this screen. And I'm gonna change the default color. So this is how the link appears without you doing anything to it. So we're gonna change that to black. We're gonna add an underline decoration so that users know that you can click on it. And then we're gonna change the hover to the orange color. And the current field, we don't have to really worry about that for this. Cool. So if we go back to the home page now and kind of just give it a test, we can see that is working correctly. All right, and all that's left to do is to select the case study component here, and we're going to duplicate it to add the other one. And then we're going to select both of these and add a stack like this. And it's going to be a vertical stack right now, and we're going to change that to a horizontal stack. And then we're going to put the width on fill and the height to fit content. It's already looking great. And then we're going to adjust the gap right here to 16 to maintain the consistency. And then we're just going to select both of the case studies themselves and make them fill width. And the whole reason we made those variants for this component so that we can go here and adjust every instance of this component and its content. So we can just go into the image here, choose image, add a separate image, just like that. And then we can also change the title, role, outcomes, and the link text here. But we actually forgot, we do have to add a variable to the link as well so that we can change the outgoing link for each one. And that's super easy. We just do this, create variable, and it's automatically there. And if we go back, we can see it down at the bottom here. We can add a unique link to each one. Cool. So let's just give it another preview, just kind of see how it's looking responsively. And that's exactly what we want it to be doing so far, which is awesome. And then now for the last section, we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to copy this footer over by running the plugin. And we're going to be doing something a little different with this footer. So with that copied, I'm going to go back to the main container frame, and we're going to paste like we did before. And then we're going to make sure everything is the way it's supposed to again. So we're going to change the width to fill. And we're actually going to try out viewport height this time. So if you don't know what viewport is, it's basically the area of a web page that is visible to the user. So it's dependent on what kind of device you're using. So that's how you see like kind of the cool effects that some websites have, where it basically takes up your entire screen, no matter how big it is. So the way we do that is we change the height to viewport. And then I'm going to change it to 90, and you'll see why soon. But basically what that's going to do, it's going to take up basically 90% of our viewport, our screen here. Cool. So now I'm just going to click into these specific layers here. So for the shape, we're actually going to add a frame to that, because SVGs can be a little weird in Framer. So we're going to rename this to shape. So what I did was I right-clicked the shape layer, and I just went down here and pressed add frame. And then as we can see here, it's pinned on all sides. So that just makes sure that it expands appropriately. And then for the shape here, we're going to lock the ratio and keep it on fixed. And we're going to make sure the text layers are on fill as well. Awesome. So that's pretty much all the actual elements within the desktop breakpoint. So now we're going to make the menu bar sticky and do what it's actually supposed to do. So the way we do that is we select the top bar menu component that we've made. And we're going to go to the right here and change the positioning type to sticky. And if we try it out, we're going to notice that it's actually not going to work yet. And that's because we have a tooltip right here that tells us that sticky will only work if all parent layers have overflow set to visible. So basically what overflow is, it's the equivalent of clip content in Figma. So anything outside of an element's like parent frame is either cut off or shown. So the way we do that is with the top bar menu component selected, we're going to do Shift Enter. And that's going to take us to its parent layer, which is the container layer here. And we're going to go down here and change overflow to visible. And then also that layer's parent layer needs to be on visible as well. So we're going to select desktop layer and set the overflow to visible. And then we're just going to run it again now. And just like that, we have a sticky scroll bar. Now to actually add the scroll sections. So as I said, we're going to turn this hero section into the about scroll section. So the way we do that is we select the section that we want it to scroll to. And then it's super simple. We're going to go to the right here and click this plus sign right next to scroll section. And we're going to name this hero. We're going to name this about. And then we're going to set the offset to 64, just to kind of test it out. And basically what that is, it's telling the sticky bar, or it's telling the scroll to stop at a certain distance away from that section, since it is going to be sticky. So we need that space on the extra space on top. And then we're going to go down here and do the same thing for the work section, which I'm actually going to rename right now. We're going to add the scroll section here, work 64. And we're going to do the same thing for the footer. Contact and 64. Awesome. So now we're going to go back to the top bar menu components, and we're just going to assign those scroll sections to the link values. So we're going to go back here into the menu button component, and we're going to add a link. And then we're going to add the variable to this, and we're going to make it to smooth scroll. Cool. So when we go back here, we can select the first menu button here, and then in the link to field, we can put it to home. And then these are the sections that we just made. So we're going to tell it to go to about here, and we're going to do the same thing for the work one as well. Cool. We're just going to do those ones for now. And then if we test it out now, we can click on here, it takes us here. We click on this one and it takes us there. So that's awesome. Cool. So let's go back here. So we have the styles done, name header, top bar menu, hero, case studies, we got the footer done, and we just finished the menu functionality. All right, so just to give you a little sneak peek of the kinds of effects and how easy they are to add to Framer sites, we're gonna add a little effect to the name header that we have here. So we're gonna select the specific text layer here. And then we're gonna go to the right toolbar here and select the plus icon next to effects. And we're gonna add an appear effect. So basically right when this layer appears, or when the website appears, it's gonna do what we tell it to do. So with that selected, we're gonna ignore the preset. We're actually gonna go to the enter effect panel. And then we want it on full opacity. So you're gonna drag that to 1 there. And then I'm just gonna change the Y value to 150. So it's gonna show you basically like where it's coming from. And where it's gonna end is where it is already. And then if we give it a go now, we're gonna see how it looks. So we can reload the animation there. And I think it's a little too abrupt. And I kind of want it to come out of the bottom of its frame. So it's not like coming from behind the other elements. I think that'd look better. So to make it, first of all, like a little bit slower, maybe, we're gonna go back to that same effect. And we're gonna go into the enter panel and then into the transition panel. So we're just gonna change the values here to make it look like a little more natural. So we're gonna change the stiffness to 200 and the damping to 90. And you can see kind of a preview of how this animation is gonna work. And then to make it cut off, basically from its frame upward, we're gonna select the stack that it's in. And like we mentioned before, we can go down here and change the overflow to hidden. And now we're gonna see how much better it looks. I think that looks pretty cool. Awesome. So next up, some effects. Now we're gonna make this responsive, which is gonna be incredibly easy. And I promise I'll make it quick. So usually I would add a tablet and phone breakpoint, but for time's sake, we're just going to make a phone breakpoint. So super easy, you just go up here to the plus sign and click on phone. And things are gonna look a little crazy at first, but we're gonna make super quick adjustments here. So the name is looking good already, menu is looking great. The hero here, we're just going to change the hero stack from a horizontal stack, the way it is here, into a vertical stack so that we can make it more appropriately responsive on mobile. So with the hero layer selected, we're going to change it into a vertical stack here on the right. And then we're going to select the text stack here and set that to fill. So basically it will inherit everything from the primary breakpoint here. So this was on relative before, but we're going to change this to fill. And we're going to change the height to click content. And then just to give the text a little bit more space, we're going to change the padding to 24. And then we're just going to decrease the size of the title a little bit. So I'm going to put it to 24 and 32. And I'm actually going to select the image and just press the up arrow. I think that looks already a lot better. And then for these, we're just going to do the same thing with the work layer selected. We're just going to turn it into a vertical stack. And we do have the option of creating an extra variant for this that is mobile responsive, or more appropriately sized for mobile. And basically the way we do that is we go back into the component itself and we add a second variant here by clicking the gray like box to the right of it. And just to make it similar to how it was on mobile, we're just gonna shrink the width here. Just, it doesn't really matter what value it is. We just want to see how it's thing. So I'm actually going to rename these real quick. So variant 1 is going to be desktop and tablets. And then variant 2 is going to be phone. Cool. So I think it'd look a lot better if the text layers here were stacked on top of each other, because we have a lot of empty space here. Because it's a little hard to read paragraphs like this that are long, and it wastes a lot of vertical space. And you don't want people scrolling for no reason. So what we're going to do is we're going to select each of these individual stacks in the layers tab here. So not the title block, just the role, outcomes, and website stacks. And we're going to change it to a vertical stack as well. And then we're just going to decrease the gap to 8. And just like that, we're looking a whole lot better. So all we need to do is go back to, sorry about that static noise. We're going to go back to the mobile breakpoint. And all we literally have to do is just select the 2 case study components and switch the variant to phone. And we're good to go. Awesome. So now we're just going to adjust the footer just a little bit. So make sure the shape frame is selected here, not the actual shape within it. And we're just going to make it a little bit smaller. I'm holding shift and clicking on the down arrow, but you can also just manipulate the value how you want it. And then we're going to decrease the sizing of this text layer right here. I'm going to change it to 40 and 48. And I'm also going to change this one to 18, 24. Cool. And just like that, we have a fully responsive portfolio page. So if we shrink it here, it's going to collapse just like that. And when we expand it, it's going to come right back. We check the footer. It's that easy. Awesome. So going back to our checklist, so mobile breakpoint, check. That was like 5 minutes, which is kind of insane when you think about it. And then now to publish. So publishing, that takes all another hour. So I will see you guys in the next one. That actually takes, appreciate that, thank you. We're not done just yet. I appreciate the sentiment though. It actually takes 5 seconds. So we're gonna go up here and click on publish right here. And just like that, they have a domain assigned to it. But what's really cool is they have free subdomains. So you can choose between these 5 right here. We're going to stick to this primary one right here. I'm just going to call it Ernesto Rocks. And just like that, we're going to publish it. Oh, sorry, I forgot to press the check mark right there. And just like that, we have a custom domain for it. And if we click on this, link here, we have a existing live website. Thank you. And everything is working exactly how we want it to. Awesome. I appreciate y'all sticking with me through that. I know it was a lot to keep up with. You'd be impressed with the amount of things that I had to actually take out of it to make it this short. But if you go back into the Figma file, there's an advanced design page. So with just extra 30 minutes of work, we can implement something like this. And I'm actually going to show you what I did with that in Framer as well, just a quick preview. So we just have like some extra elements, some extra animations. So this typewriter effect right here was super easy to add. It's literally just copying and pasting. And it kind of just goes to like different words. And that was super easy to set up. I'll be sharing a remix link to this as well, so you can kind of see how everything is made. And then down here, it was super easy to make these as well. Just like very simple, like hover states right here. Cool. So just like that, we had a live portfolio website made. And before we get to the swag giveaways and the food, I just want to bring your attention to this website again. So the same one we were looking at earlier, orlando.framer, that website. So the second button here is the Framer Orlando Slack. If you found this to be helpful and you want to, maybe join our next Framer Orlando meetups, definitely make sure to join. I have a few ideas for like different events we can do next that could be like more collaborative. We can work on our own things, and yeah, just kind of like connect and share what we learn about Framer and learn together. And I also would love to hear any of your feedback today. So if you click on this right here, it'll take you to a feedback portal where you can write, if you have any feedback or you enjoyed the event, whatever you want. I would love to hear any and all of your feedback. And then the last one down here is a resources just library that I made for y'all that basically combines like just a lot of cool resources for Framer. So if you click into it, you'll see we have the Framer Orlando links. And then these are just some really cool and useful links for learning about Framer. If you ever run into issues, you can check out Framer community. There's an awesome active community there, bunch of FAQs, bunch of support. And then I'm just going to show you one of these. This one's called Framer Supply. Lots of cool, just straight up copy and paste elements that you can add to your websites. And some other neat things. I actually got that shape that we were working with today from this really cool library. You can literally just press on it, copy it, and paste it into Figma or Framer. And then we have some other links here. And then this is actually my referral link over here. If you're interested, you can get 3 months free on a pro annual Framer subscription. And all you have to do is click on the link right here and then use the code when you're signing up for a new site plan. And once again, thank you all so much for being here. I hope you learned at least one new thing here. And once again, I'm just here to kind of push you towards being more comfortable using a tool like this if it's something that you might find useful for whatever it is that you would want to make with it. And of course, shout out to the UX team for helping me set this up, like hooking us up with Starter Studio. Shout out to Starter Studio. Jason was a huge help with planning everything out. And then also shout out to my friends that just like motivated me to just come up here and do my thing and share stuff that I'm really passionate about. And then of course, shout out to Framer for sponsoring this event, the food, the merch, and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's it for me. Thank you all.